during COVID, we So I'm going to share with you fairly quickly some things that I think are good tools for January thinking. And am I facing the right way to be where you want me?
Yeah,
Okay,
they'll
facing
see
this.
that.
Okay. So a SWOT analysis is something that I think we learned first week of business school. And so people tend to think, oh, it's so basic. Oh, I did this a million years ago. But I can't tell you how important it is to do a reset. I think an annual basis, or when large events happen that impact my business. And I think to answer the question someone asked about how frequently you need a business plan, I mean, you don't actually ever need a business plan. You need a business plan if it's going to help you focus and think through the prospect of what you're doing at the beginning. You absolutely need it if you're going to raise capital, because people will ask. And if you're the kind of person that learns from processing and writing, it's going to be very beneficial to you. But the days of Jeff Bezos driving across the country while his wife drove and he wrote out a 40-page plan of how we were going to buy books on the internet, like those days are over. Like nobody does that anymore. And frankly, there's nobody at the other end who wants to read a 40-page business plan.
Yeah.
Even
my whole degree.
even my clients who need to raise money and we find them a bank and the bank is going to ask for the business plan, they're like, please don't give me more than 5 pages. We need to know in as quick and as succinct way as possible, have you thought about the things you need to think about? So some of the tools that we use, a SWOT analysis is great for like, at this point in time, what are we doing well? What are we not doing well? What are the opportunities and what are the things I'm worried about? What's keeping me up at night? Let's write it all down on a piece of paper because these things change. I mean, we've all been through COVID. If everything was going swimmingly up until 2020, it was the right time to do a SWOT analysis because everything changed. And you can see, and I think we're going to start to see more as we look back on businesses that were impacted by COVID, this big event, some of them shone and some of them failed. Right? So what can we learn from that? And as I was meeting with clients during all that, I kept saying the same thing, which is don't think about getting your business back to where it was in light of this crisis. Think about if you were starting your business today, how would you do it? And I think in January, at any given point in time where you can sit and take a careful moment and refresh, think about what would we do if we were starting this today? And this is a nice, easy framework and we're going to send this all out so you can print it and write on it. But this is something that you can put on a napkin if you have an extra 10 minutes before dinner. What are we doing well? What do our customers absolutely love about us? What is that feedback we're getting that we really want to lean into? What are we not doing well? What keeps you up at night? If you're a solo founder of your business and solopreneur, what that means is that you're inevitably doing the parts of this business that you don't do well or that you don't enjoy. And I think that that's important to keep track of. I think I have a lot of clients over time who want help in hiring their first employee and how to do it. And the thing I ask them first is, how do you spend your time? And what do you spend time doing that you hate? Like, let's isolate how much of that and what those functions are. Let's see if we can outsource that to somebody else. But it's important to know, like, what is the business not doing well? What's not going swimmingly? Are you really good at delivering the service, really bad at billing for the services? Are you really good at executing with a client, not so great at getting new clients? Like, let's figure out where you're weak. Given the market climate, like, where are our biggest opportunities? What are the things that you're excited to lean into? And then conversely, what's keeping you up at night? Is there new competition out there? Has something changed? Is something not working? I see with a lot of clients who rely on digital advertising, and I'm sure you know more of this, like, it's hard to keep track of being at the other end of Facebook and Instagram. Like, they're really smart and that landscape changes all the time. So that becomes, while that may not be core to the business that they want to execute, it becomes something that could be an opportunity or a threat. So this is, I share this, and maybe Mitch, you'll see this as interesting, as if you were starting a business from scratch today, these are all the elements of your business plan. but also if you print it out right, could be on a legal size sheet of paper that you could use as a placemat and scribble it all in. So I like to think about beyond the SWOT analysis. If you look at your business, and maybe it's hard to see all of this, but I'll read them. Every business needs these components, and you can think about whether you're strong or weak in terms of each of these core activities. So you look at the key partners, the key activities that you do, what resources you need to execute on your business. In the middle, we've got value proposition, like why do people come to you? What value are you providing for them? Then you think about customers on the right side. Who are your customer relationships? What segments broadly, how would we describe them? How would we put them into buckets? What channels are we going to go through to get these clients? And then of course, across the bottom, we've got our revenue stream and cost structure. So these are all questions that I think you want to be able to answer about your business. And to the extent you're coming up with a blank, we can dive into that a little more. So I wanted to come up with a super easy Mad Libs kind of way of looking at financials. Because I think that I'm a banker by training, and I use financial statements daily to learn about people's businesses, but it is a hard thing to present in a course because it's very personal and people don't really want to share it. But at a high level, if you look at your 2022 performance, how do we feel about it from a financial perspective? And this is the easiest way I can think to walk that through. So if you were to fill out this chart, which we will send to you, and you look at your revenue in 2021, then your revenue in 2022, how do we compare these? Increase, decrease, what happened? What is the explainer behind the growth or the decline? Separately, how profitable were we? A lot of business start out, they may not be profitable in the first year, but obviously the goal is that we need to get there. And then lastly, what do we wish we had done differently? And I think if you can think through these questions about your performance, you're at least going to have sort of level set yourself for looking forward. And the look forward, and this is pretty much the simplest way I can think through a business forecast for 2023. It starts with, on the left, understanding your current situation. And I think you do that from a combination of your financials and a SWOT analysis. So we want to understand how you're doing, how you feel about it, how you think you're doing versus your competitors. Now, if you're in a business that is not that unique, there are ways where we can benchmark you against similar businesses. If you're in a completely unique business, it tends to be a little bit of a garbage in, garbage out exercise, so that I wouldn't recommend spending the time. But if you think that there are businesses like yours, but twice or three times the size, or sort of where you're trying to get to, we can look through several databases that you can track profitability and margins of what your business could aspire to be. And I think it's worth doing. You want to also look at, like, how are we executing versus our goals? So did you meet where you were hoping to be last year? Did you fall short? If so, what resources or processes, what didn't work out the way you expected? And then lastly, like, where are we missing capacity? So it's certainly for solopreneurs out there, there's got to be something that you wish you had. And so let's identify it. Let's see if we can find it on a part-time basis, from a mentor, from a place like HAYVN. There are a lot of options out there. So when we answer the question, how were we in 2022 versus 2021? What worked, what didn't work? And we look at 2023. We want to decide where are the areas that we can achieve growth or improve our margins. So there's gotta be, and this is hard, everybody's got a different kind of business, so there's no one answer, but you know your business, like, what do we need more of? We need more clients, we need the clients we have to spend more. You know, what would move the needle? So then we move over, we prioritize these growth opportunities in terms of what are the easiest things to execute always. You always go there. So I have clients, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Marie, but when I meet with them, and I spend a lot of time helping people build pitches to talk to investors. And when we get to the part of who's your target customer, how big is your market, people will often say, well, the whole world is my market. And when I look at you, like, yes, you've got your target market defined as women in their 40s, 50s, menopause. Awesome, because that makes it really easy. But you could have just as easily said to me, everybody should exercise, like the whole world is my market. But it's very hard for you to market to everybody. Whereas it's expensive, you're not going to get as many people saying yes and clicking through. Whereas if you know who your target is, it's women of this age group, that makes it so much more efficient for you to find these people. And when the marketing of it and the finding of the people costs money, the more efficient you can be, the better. So as you prioritize your growth opportunities, I think this is one of the areas that I think people make the most mistakes. And I think, as we all know, especially the woman who's driving and listening, all we have is our time. And we need to be as efficient as possible with everything. I think that it is in this prioritization where people lose focus and waste energy, and then the outcomes don't end up there. So I think you need a very disciplined look at how you can be spending your time and what that return on time can look like. So the way we do that is brainstorm all the possible ways you can think about building your business and growing your business. And then associate an amount of time, an investment that you'll need to make into that effort, and then you prioritize, recognizing that you can't do everything. And the more discipline that we can be around this prioritization, the better outcome you're going to get. So that once you've got your prioritization complete, you can model if that line item does well, what is the impact to you going to be? Whether it's digital marketing campaign that we're going to launch, or a referral marketing campaign, or it's using existing clients and upselling. Like, how much do I have to invest in this process, and what could I realistically expect? And from that, to me, that looks like a spreadsheet, and it's something that we can certainly do in another session. But you can assign the resources you need to each of those initiatives and create a time responsibility chart, and then you execute for the year. So this is, I know I went through that very quickly for something that's super important, but I don't know of a better way to come up with a revenue plan for the following year.
Did you say that we will get these?
Yes, we'll send all of this, and we'll send sort of the backstage.
Minimize the
people,
yeah, the whole.
Yeah, better. Yeah. So then on the bright side, the execution of this ends up to be you and your team, managing your team, managing to hitting the deadlines and the process along the way, supporting with roadblocks. But once you've committed to the goals and initiatives for the year, the execution part should be leaning into what you do well. So now I'm going to walk you through this, this set of tools that I love. And for the people who are in the room with me, there's this giant book, like this is how many worksheets there are in Growth Thrill. Like every page is this. And I call it like an MBA in a folder. And I absolutely love it. I think it's comprehensive, but it meets entrepreneurs where they are. And it acknowledges that in any given day, month, year, you can't focus on everything, right? Like you can't do everything in a day. You have to focus on what's going to be most impactful. And I think what Growth Wheel does a great job with is helping you identify which areas to focus in and giving you the tools to do it. Did we send this out to the people?
So I can do that really quick. They have.
Yeah. So we're gonna send out all of these worksheets digitally. So that you'll have everything that is on the screen. But just so I can introduce you to the concept of this wheel. The wheel has 4 quadrants. The yellow is the business concept, and that's generally where people start. The red is the organization of your business, which is very people focused. The blue is operations, and financials fall into that, as well as funding. And then the green, the upper right, is all your marketing, outward sales, and topics like that. Within each quadrant, there are these 5 general topics of where this breaks down. So for business idea, I'm going to read the ones in yellow because I know they don't show up on the screen very well. But if you start with your business idea, that's where we get all of your mission, vision, like what you thought and felt that instigated the starting of your business. Then migrating over to what are your products, what's your revenue model, and who's going to be your customer. So these are questions you can imagine you start diving into at the beginning. Market position is something that then will tie over to the green section where you talk about all different ways to market and brand and communicate what's going on with your business. Bottom left, in terms of organization, there's your employees, how to hire people, developing key partnerships, identifying and documenting your business processes and legal. There's also some topics around the board. Operations can be everything from systems to facilities to funding and your financials. So what Growth Wheel asks you to do, yes. What Growth Wheel asks you to do, and this is, I think, a more sophisticated version of a SWOT analysis in a way, is sort of go topic to topic and rate yourself on how complete you feel you are, and or whether this is something that you need to dive into more. And graphically, the way they do this is with these gray bars that are in the middle. So there are 4 bars, each one corresponds to 25%. Like if you feel like you've got, 25% of that complete, then you would just highlight kind of one of the bars. Whoops, sorry. But graphically, if we go through this topic by topic, it's basically a scorecard for where you are on your business. And it should, at the end, highlight which of the areas you want to dive into. Where Growth Wheel lives is on the internet, and it's this cute little interface where if I click on one of these, it is going to highlight to me, if you decide you want to work on marketing, for instance, we click on marketing and it's going to open up all of these worksheets and tools and articles that you can read about that, which is why we call it an MBA in a box. At the end of this, I can actually probably use the interface itself and show it to you because it's slick and cool. But for now, I'd ask you to think through the topics, and that what you have in front of you is somewhere where you can do that and sort of grade yourself. Now, once you've focused on or highlighted the areas on this wheel that you think you want to spend time on in 2023, then we model it out. And I think one of these tools, like there isn't anything revolutionary to what is on the screen right now, other than writing it down keeps you accountable to making it happen. So what we would ask is that you think about which area on this chart you want to spend most time in, or maybe pick 3, and you can pick them for 30, 60, 90 days. Like what's the first quarter you're going to focus on? And then the second chart we think about in terms of which quarter of the year and the year. So what I would love to do is give everybody just 3 minutes to, and I'm gonna pull the chart back up for those of you who are online, to just look through this and circle or highlight maybe 3 of these topics that you think would be helpful in moving your business forward.
And those worksheets went out to everybody via email, and so it should get to you in a little bit.
Okay.
Look through cyberspace. The chats, because it's somebody message. Oh, yeah, perfect.
And I think we're gonna quickly go around the room in another minute and highlight, I want you to also highlight which of these elements you think you're doing really well at. And which things you think will be most impactful for you for 2020. Okay. So I'm gonna start with Maria because I can see this.
Okay, so the first question was, what I think
What are you doing well and what areas will be most impactful for your business in 2023?
I think, so I started my business about 2.5 years ago, and I think what I'm doing well is I've defined my product portfolio. It's been an evolution, and I've learned from doing it. So I feel like I'm got that more defined, because I understand by understanding what my clients' needs are, I've been able to define that portfolio. And I think what I need to work on is being more consistent in my own marketing and communications and such. So, which I have my plans in place to do, to take my own medicine.
That's great.
You know, but
Yeah.
that's because I know I recommend it and I know it works, and I just need to make sure I do it for myself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because the shoemakers. Children.
The shoemaker, she'll look
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah.
Linda.
So what I think I'm doing well is networking, sales and service, and developing key partnerships with other people in my world. What I know I need to improve on or need to keep building upon is my marketing, communication and PR, and more partnerships.
Good. I love it. It's
Mhm.
three things. That is doable. I mean,
Okay, not too dissimilar. I think that what I deliver well. And that, my business idea, I think is very solid in terms of what I do, what I offer, and that the revenue model is. The things that I have opportunities around are getting even more deliberate around my customer portfolio. Definitely improving marketing and branding, and finding better solutions for outsourcing what I need as better and more communications and PR.
great. Thank you.
Well, boy, I'm just starting this, so I would
Okay.
say.
What are you doing well?
Taking what I've currently been doing for the last 10+ years and kind of grabbing some of those skills and connections to lead me down my next avenue here. So I would say doing well, networking has been a big part of my current position, and also branding, coming up with a mission of what I would like to accomplish. But moving forward, of course, my gosh, what does the revenue model look like? What's the product portfolio? And also, I want to focus on my audience, really know why I'm doing it. Like, I know what I think would be a good mission or something to work towards accomplishing, but I'm not sure if my audience agrees. So I'm big on, customer research and also partnerships too. And that's why I'm here,
Great.
meeting with other people and collaborating.
All right. Kat?
Okay.
Kate, sorry.
Hi, I think that I'm also doing well with when it comes to production and deliveries and the business processes and I guess networking as well. Marketing is something that I would like to focus on in the next year, as well as branding and revenue model.
Great. Thank you. Erin?
I think I'm doing well with networking and being at the early stage of things, my idea, and having spent some time really developing the idea. And what I'd like to work on is the customer portfolio. I really resonated with you talking about, but my customer is the whole world. And my challenge being that where I'm getting traction is with parents, but where I've been envisioning it being is with teachers and how to kind of work with where the interest is, but where my background is too.
Awesome. Thank you. Mojos. Christina.
Sorry. I think where we're doing well really is with the business idea and the customer and product portfolio. I would say our biggest or my biggest struggle is networking and marketing. We got like a really good base last year, and I think the focus for this year is just really focusing on marketing and sales and networking.
Great. I see a marketing mastermind in our. Kim.
Great.
Yeah.
Hi, I think I do well with my overall 2 business ideas, and then overall organization. And then my first business, I have a really solid, great team, which allows me to focus on my second business a little bit more. So this year, I really want to focus on my second business with production and deliveries, kind of with my manufacturers and just timing that with getting into trade shows and kind of going across country with that. And then networking and partnerships is really big.
Great. Thank you. Leslie?
Well, I find it kind of hilarious that a lot of people are saying marketing, and I'm a marketing company and I also need to work on my marketing. So some of the things that are going really well is my business idea. I have a really niche customer base and provision of service. And I have a great team. I hired 3 employees over the last 1.5 years. That gives me a lot of a great foundation. And my financials this year, I've gotten, you know, an amazing CPA, growth forecasting, all that stuff. So that's been a real focus. I need to work on my networking. Like I said, I'm trying to build a more local network. Marketing, I need to update my website and LinkedIn and everything. And then sales and service, again, just kind of reaching out to the local market, I think I need to work on.
Great, thank you. Elizabeth, anything to share?
Well, in terms of what I'm good at, because I have so many irons in the fire, I'm not sure which direction to hold fast with. I say my skill set, I'm very strong in my artistic endeavors, be it launching a book, be it doing my fine art, be it doing photography. And yoga is a whole different interest of mine. So I have a lot going on. I'd say the thing that I would like to move forward with is partnerships in terms of my art, because I find one thing to be isolated when you're creating, you're always turning around and looking at yourself and saying, so what do you think about this? And well, I don't know. And you're isolated, so you have nobody to throw any ideas off of. So I would say some kind of partnership to bring some new ideas into the mix, and definitely legal, because I have put myself out there a few times and have found that contractually I should have considered this X, Y, or Z. So I'm learning by default by doing. And always networking. I just like to see what other people are doing out there, and who knows what else I could consider.
Great. Thank you. Thank everybody for sharing. So I think as a starting point, the sheets that we sent around are really planning sheets. So there's 30, 60, 90, which I love. There is goal setting, and this tracks back to what we talked about developing a revenue forecast. So I like to think about, and what I've been telling my clients all week is, like, let's imagine we're sitting here in January 2024. What would make us really happy? Like, what are the metrics that we use that we would be really proud of our business? And so I would encourage you to use these sheets to think about that. And in a way, we think about it backwards. We can think about it backwards as a nice way to frame what we should be doing in 30, 60, 90. So if we look at the outcome tracking sheet that you have, and we think about where we want to be a year from now, describe it, put words onto it, write it down. And then you go back and set goals of how you would get there. And those goals we can allocate to first, second, third, fourth quarter, end of year. And then we tackle the ones that we need to do in this quarter with the first of the 30, 60, 90. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that is, this I included, this C, it's for the people who like checklists there. And when you think about, if anybody's sitting there thinking, well, I don't really know, I don't know where to start. I would say, let's get grounded in what would make you happy a year from now, and use this checklist to sort of jog your mind. Does this sound like something I should do or not? Let's check off some things, and check off some things that you know you're good at, and check off some things that you're a little nervous about. Because somewhere in there probably lies the magic to where you need to get to. So I am gonna stop sharing just because I think I have to refresh this screen. Because I added a chart that wasn't in the initial one. So where would I? Let's see. Where's the presentation again? I think if we just hit refresh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I want to share just to give you an idea of the kind of worksheets that Growth Wheel has that are beyond the planning. And I took notes on what everybody is interested in, and there does seem to be a lot of overlap. So I'll follow this up and send you some of the marketing worksheets that Growth Wheel has, just to give you a sense of how this kind of tool works. This is one that I have like every one of my clients do. It's called the Customer Persona Worksheet. And it is sort of the baseline of all of marketing, is that how do I get in the head and the heart of my target client? And I usually have them do a couple of these. Like we'll print out 4 of those because there are generally many different target clients that you can look at. And I always have them do one for the client they don't want. Because while I want you to spend all your time getting the clients you want, I want to make sure that you can identify the clients you don't want. Clients you don't want are the ones that don't value what you're doing, that try to get things for free all the time, that negotiate too hard, that don't pay you. Like everybody's business is a bad client. Like, let's figure out a way where we're targeting the clients that we want and not targeting the clients we don't want inadvertently, so that we're not wasting our time. But this worksheet, and it seems very simple, and all of the Growth Wheel worksheets, whether they're talking about legal processes or marketing, are very accessible. It wants you to get yourself into their head and their heart. Typical age, gender, education, where are they? What kind of ideas and assumptions do they have? Do they hold? Like, what kind of pain points do they have about the world that you're showing them? And so this is something that you can fill out over and over again. And each one of these worksheets, and I showed everybody in the room, I've got this binder of about 100 of them, works this way. It's simple, it's accessible, it's aimed at helping you make a key decision in growing your business. So I look forward to sending them all to you. I'm going to stop sharing and expand the group here, because I think it's a great way to get started for the new year. And to the extent somebody wants, it's an online thing that I can either download the sheets and send to you, or I can just invite you into the tool and you can play around with it yourself. But that's what I have presented. I hope that leaves you with a few stepping stones to making 2023 an exciting year. And happy to answer any questions.
Kind of a general question that's probably difficult to answer, but I'll throw it out there. If you decide you want to experiment a little bit, like experiment with a new customer base, and your goal is to acquire a couple of customers in that new area in 90 days, and you get to 90 days and nothing's happened, is there some sort of formula or questions one should ask themselves as to how much longer you pursue it? And when do you cut ties with that idea?
Yeah, look, I guess if I could answer that, that would be the key to everything. But I think in your heart, like every one of you is running a business that you cared about enough to one day say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go on my own and I'm going to start this. So a lot of the answer to that question, I think, is trusting yourself, right? You should always be pushing the edge of the envelope and trying new things and trying new segments and pivoting in a new direction. But if you're trying it and nobody's responding, it's like, okay, let's think about this. What am I learning? And I think feedback is the most important thing. And oh, by the way, like I'm going to send around a survey because Felicia and I want to learn what we can learn from you all about how to make this better. Like, you want to get as much feedback as you can, and as much honest feedback as you can. And then you need to make a decision. You need to sit with it and see, like, what do I think? Do I think that the 3 people I tried with weren't exactly right, but I learned that X? Like, I learned, what did I learn from this experience? Where were these clients like really close to my target or close enough? And where was this just didn't land where I thought, and take that and move on. But, you know, I don't think there is a formula. I think that in some, you know, there are people who have come up with marketing statistics where you can say, like, am I going viral? Well, there's a formula for that. Like, you're not growing viral if you're not growing at this exponential rate. But for trying and you know, dipping into sort of new territory, I think you gotta rely on yourself. And because it is all about efficiently using your time to grow.
Thank you. And that is actually all the time we have
Okay.
for today. We'll give you the rest of your day back. We'll be sure to share the slides, the worksheet, the presentation, and your contact information. So if you have any questions, they'll be able to reach out to you. But thank you all so much for joining us
Thank you.
today.
Yeah.
Have a wonderful day.